typically. So Edison or in your case, I think out where you are, Riverside Power has their own utility poles. So instead of us setting a bunch of new utility poles to permit for, we'll attach to existing utility poles. So we'll be adding an additional load. That load being just the weight of the cable
Okay.
on those poles. So the pole loading that they do is just ensuring that attaching to those utility poles isn't going to overload them so that they fall over, to avoid that.
Okay. So what's your work schedule like?
Uh, so I'm a department senior supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and mine's a little bit more scattered because of various meetings in the typically early in the morning site meetings,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or or later in the day and client meetings. So overall macro project analysis, troubleshooting, and ensuring that any project that's getting stuck in any phase, or if there's a unique problem that needs to be solved, I'll get pulled into that. Sometimes it's involving an easement that's needed because of utility poles behind someone's property.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's coordinating with a developer to ensure that that if we're doing a joint trench with a power company or something of that sort with a new building that we're tying into, that we'll coordinate those efforts. So my schedule's pretty scattered. A standard day is usually between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. Up to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And then on top of that, outside the engineering aspect, as a supervisor, I have a whole nother set of tasks that I have to handle. I have about 30 employees under me.
Okay.
So doing employee reviews, hiring, firing, all that stuff on top of troubleshooting and dealing with client issues. But that's outside the engineering side of it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. Can you describe your educational background? Like starting from high school up until college?
Sure. So mine's a little extensive. It's not a typical route whatsoever.
Okay.
When I got out of high school, I was doing video production and was leaning more towards graphic arts. So I went to a community college I graduated high school in 2003, and I went directly to community college all the way up until 2008. So I was 5 years. And within that time, I earned about, I want to say 7 associate's degrees in varying things from mathematics and sciences and arts. And I kind of went from, like I said, video production, graphic art, to 3D computer animation, mostly towards the video production side of it. But then at that point, I switched over to architecture a couple years before I left junior college. And that was I don't know if it matters, but that was at Mount San Antonio College in Walnut, California.
Okay.
So I did pretty well there. I was very involved in school in environmental and honors and a bunch of different things. I got kind of stuck there. I was the president of a couple different clubs, so I was pretty busy, and I got stuck there an extra year, else I would have only been there for 4. Then I transferred to USC for architecture, and I did their 4-year program to finish out my schooling. And then at that time, I had a couple different buddies in architecture letting me know about the current company I'm at, Inland Engineering Services, that they were hiring, a small little company that's growing pretty quickly, that they need drafters, and it's a good entry-level position. So I gave it a shot. It stuck. I liked the people there. I've been there now. This October, I'll be at IES for 7 years. I was a drafter the first year, quality assurance or Q year the second year.
Mhm.
By third, fourth year, I was kind of a project lead,
Mhm.
kind of project coordinator.
Okay. So you worked
Uh,
your way up over the years.
yeah, all the way
Mhm.
up to supervisor, senior supervisor. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm currently at right now.
Okay. Um, if you had to redo it, would you do the same pathway you took, or would you go to a different field of engineering, or do a different job in general?
So that's an excellent question. uh, it's been an interesting ride, and it's
Mhm.
definitely been fascinating because I deal with a lot of special situations,
Mhm.
which challenge like basically problem solving,
Mhm.
uh, creative solutions.
Okay.
So it's been very interesting. I
Mhm.
kind of fell into it. I know that it's not entirely uncommon
Mhm.
when you go out for a path. You start something and it just builds into something a lot more than you expected.
Uh-huh.
So I can't say it was super intentional where I ended up at this point.
Mhm.
Uh, but I've been doing really well at it. I enjoy it, and I not so much I would change anything,
Mhm.
but there's I'm fascinated by a lot of the different industries that are out there. So mixing it up from time to time might be kind of fun, but yeah, I'm kind of where I'm at, and it's going well, and
Okay.
I don't think I would change anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. What would you give advice to someone, as in like me, who's like interested in what you're doing?
I would say maybe not wait so long
Mhm.
to dive in. Don't doubt yourself a little bit. I know not just speaking for myself, not projecting too much. I do know that there's a lot of individuals who are reluctant to jump into the workforce early on.
Mhm.
They might touch on an internship here or there,
Mhm.
and I would say don't it after in my specific industry, if you were going in as a drafter like I did,
Mhm.
if you took a class or even two, I would say, of AutoCAD
Mhm.
in our particular industry, and you wanted to just jump in, I would go for it.
Mhm.
Even if it's just if you can find somewhere where it's a part time, or
Mhm.
for the summer or whatever else, get some practical experience under
Mhm.
your belt, and test yourself because there's a lot of opportunities out there. I know the job market is there's a lot of opportunities right now to get hired. So
Okay.
to dive in there
Mhm.
and test the waters,
Yeah.
even when you don't have your full on completed certificate or program or
Mhm.
whatever would be a good idea.
Okay.
It amazed me within any industry you're in. Uh, the years of experience you have under yourself, and the seniority within various structures, how
Mhm.
it compiles to uh, to not only your program knowledge, but also potentially your income down the line. So it's
Yeah.
something to kind of think of.
Mhm. Thank you. So what do you like and what do you dislike about your current job right now?
I like the flexibility in how to tackle the problems.
Mhm.
To be given a problem to go after, and there could be multiple ways to tackle the problem,
Mhm.
and to the freedom to decide to come up with the ultimate solution, to collaborate with various members of various teams. As I'm collaborating with not only our client or the developer or the approving city
Mhm.
um, or utility company, uh,
Mhm.
just that flexibility to come up with a problem and collaborate on how to knock out the problem is that's one of the best things about the job. On the other end, Mm, I would say because in my specific industry, it's more or less a contractor. So we're kind of on the bottom end of the totem pole. There's a high risk and high reward as a contractor. You can do really well or you can do poorly.
Yeah.
So when 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 a problematic project hits us, and it's your job to fix it, a challenge is always fun, but sometimes it can be
stressful.
It can be quite a bit. It can be quite a bit. Yeah, it can add a little bit of stress. So when you're trying to come up with a problem that's outside of your scope, and so you'll lean on a team, and that helps. But ultimately, when it falls on your plate and you're responsible for that particular outcome, the stress. So I think having the thing I would change is probably maybe having just making sure that you have a good team around you that can fill in all those holes where you are weak.
Okay.
Like areas that you might not be as strong, you want to make sure you have a team that fills up those holes, and that's what we're working towards. But I would say there's definitely been quite a few times where I'm running into a problem that I can't quite solve by myself, and when I'm working in that collaborative environment and no one can solve it, that can get kind of tricky, and it would be nice to fill in those holes.
Yeah. So you said that your company right now, IES, that you work for, was a small company. It's growing, and that some of your friends recommended it to you. Was it like high in demand? Were you competing against a lot of other applicants to get the job?
Not initially for this particular job. Not initially at the time. It was pretty. It was more of just word of mouth. They weren't actively going after a pool of candidates. It was just, hey, there was a couple openings at this little shop. I mean, when I started with this company, we're a turnkey company. I'm in one department of a subsection of the company under engineering, which is permits again. But the overall company, even back then, I think we were only about 35, 40 people. Now we're 200 plus. So it's a significantly larger company with just about 7 years now that I've been there. It's a little bit more competitive now. At the time, it was more of a mom and pop company. Okay. Where it was just whoever you knew, you brought someone in if they fit the position, if they worked well with the team, we could go with it. Now we have full on processes, procedures for bringing people on, full on review.
Okay, so did you need any previous experience to get the job, or did you just need the basic education of engineering? Experience as in working for other engineering companies.
Yeah, so when I start, there's a difference between now and then. 7 years ago, when this company was still forming, back then we would basically teach you, and even now, depending on which level you're trying to get in at, if it's general engineering, just a couple classes of AutoCAD experience will get you in the door, or administration. Education definitely helps. It adds to your resume. It adds to your value coming into the company.
Yeah.
It's a strong plus. But for the beginning level stuff, it's not in our specific company. It's not as much. It's not as required, but it helps a lot.
Yeah.
You'll definitely see if you have the additional training and education that you'll learn faster and you'll rise up the ranks faster. So it definitely helps a lot. when getting into our industry, as far as I'm aware, even on the engineering side, even though I studied architecture, we took some engineering, point loads and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Education, it was a little bit different. The physics come involved with pole loading, but again, I'm not doing pole loading. I'm doing underground permitting.
Okay.
I'm trying to think where to go with that. It's definitely helpful. In our particular industry, it's a specialized industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of people out there in telecom engineering. You can watch videos on YouTube. There's, you can learn within the industry, but it's not really one of those industries that it's trained for outside within a standard schooling curriculum.
Oh yeah.
So basically, once you come into the industry, you have to kind of learn a lot of the specifics, and that's what our industry is. It's a very specific type of industry that takes in a lot of the disciplines that would be utilized in other industries. A lot of what we do when we're doing our excavation is directly relatable to similar types of drawings and engineering that you would see if you were doing municipal water, sewage design, water design. There's power, whatever you're putting, bolts, manholes, pedestals, that kind of stuff within the public right-of-way. There is a lot of overlap. But I think it's something that's it's specialized. So you learn a lot once you get in the door in the industry, you learn a lot about it. Now, on the upper end, that's if you come in as at the drafting level, similar to what I did. On the upper level, if your engineering career is more towards like project management, then on our side, that would be closer to like a project coordinator. And dealing with the clients, the cities, and the overall, putting all the pieces together, troubleshooting the project, and meeting deadlines. The higher training you have in that and being brought in at that level, you can learn the industry specific still, and you still have to learn that in-house, but definitely coming in with that type of knowledge would make you not only more valuable, but at a higher capacity utilized within the team.
Okay. So, since you said that you're a senior supervisor, does that mean that you deal with like more people, like dealing with like a little bit of like the county and getting like stuff passed through the city to like get permits, or are you more leaning towards working on how to design the underground system to like get the best network to places?
Fair question, understandable. So, like I said, I have a lot of flexibility in the types of problems that come my way. So I would say it's more so through the complex problems with coordinating with the county, city or other utilities. There's a lot of specialty permitting processes that we handle, whether they be railroads or flood control. So we have to put together specialty drawings with profiles, with specific specifications for what type of conduit or pipe we're going to be putting underground, or overhead, crossing a railroad. So what I as a supervisor, what I facilitate is the growth and the troubleshooting of the project coordinators. So the project coordinators will deal with the initial problem of any project that's on their plate, and then if they get stuck or they need additional assistance, they'll pull me in. And then if it's a project we don't normally handle, if it's something new or rare that comes up, it'll probably be something I run through on my end, and then it's a hybrid. It's a combination of both site walk site visits, coordinating with county or city or whoever has the approving call, and in-house working with the drafters and figuring out the specifics that need to go on the drawing and the permit packet itself, along with all the within the permit packet. There's a lot of different components, not just the drawing or drawing. Like we kind of got at, there could be the excavation, there could be the traffic plan, and then they'll want to be specific details, but we'll also have to put together a packet. Sometimes we need to put some environmental information together. I had a project recently where we had to have an arborist go out and verify we were crossing over 40 trees underneath them in an excavation. And so we had a tree arborist get involved and basically determine, that we weren't going to do any harm to the tree root where it might kill them or put them on some stress for our plants. And so we get little specialty kind of things that are unusual, and we'll handle that. So a tree arborist is one example. Trying to think what was another recent one I had.
Do you get those a lot, like specialty projects?
Oh yeah. So most of the ones I'm getting right now are dealing with easements. So getting recording documents, putting together sort of basic legal documents to record with each individual county on where we're going to be encroaching on private property. Most of our work, 99% of our work falls within the public right-of-way, which then has the city or whoever the approving agency deals with. So I'd say 95% falls within the public right-of-way. Another 4% of it is going to be those railroads and flood controls and more complex permitting. We could be placing conduit within a Caltrans bridge. They might have an open cell within a bridge that we're going to be running our conduit through to get to the other side of a freeway. And then the 1% is like the private property easement where we're going into a business park and our client wants to make sure that they retain the right to the conduit because they're servicing multiple tenants or buildings. So in terms of how often we get a complex project, it's on average of 1 to 2 a week. So that'll add up to 52 or 104 jobs a year that I more or less directly manage on top of the standard supervisory tasks that you deal with all the employees under me.
How long does it take you to get the permits from the county or city? Is it easier to get it from county or from city? And how long do the projects usually take to complete?
So it varies so greatly. We do work all over Central and Southern California. I'm even doing a project right now that borders, it goes over Colorado River into Arizona. So between all those various jurisdictions, what we see on our side, our essence in the telecom industry, timeline is of the essence. Meeting the client's estimated time of completion is critical. They throw a lot of projects at us. You can imagine when you have internet service to just your home, you expect it to be within a week, typically. So when we're going to a new build and they have to extend their network down a street, and it's a major street, that approval process can take a little longer than just what we call a simple stub out. So say there's already a facility line down your street and we're just tying into it or into a utility pole. Those can be pretty basic and very quick. We could, depending on the city, we could get the approval within a week to 2. And it would take us to engineer it. Our typical turnaround time is under 2 weeks as well. So we would be able to get within 4 weeks, under a month, the engineering completed and the approval and in your hand for the standard city. There are a lot of cities out right now with all the various companies permitting for telecoms. They're a little bit impacted. They have a lot of work going through them. So we see some delays that can add an additional 2 to 4 weeks. Just waiting on the approval from the city. Larger jurisdictions like Caltrans and outside of your standard city, larger cities like City of LA, and they'll have various departments that add a little bit more to the timeline. So we'll see those longer timelines where, as a basic job we might be able to get out and approved within 30 days or 4 weeks. We'll see it go 45 to 60 days, and I think that's pretty much the standard on a lot of the areas we hit right now. Is around that 45-day mark because of just the amount of work going through. On very complex jobs, the ones I deal with, those timelines get a little longer because of the involvement and coordination that happens on the engineering side and making sure that all the specifications and standards are met for placing conduit within a bridge or attaching to the side of it or going over a railroad. Various railroads have their own timelines that we stick to. Did I answer the whole question? I feel like there was a little bit more to your question other than timeline.
I think you did, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it for today.
Okay. Okay. Do we need to do a follow-up call? Or,
no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Thank you so much for your time. I really learned a lot from you.
No problem. You're very welcome. If you need to email me any follow-up questions, any clarity, I know I was a little disjointed. It's the first time doing one of these type of interviews. So
it's okay. You're good.
Okay, if there's any follow-up information you need, just email me.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.